Welcome to our channel, Million Dollars Made Easy. This channel, we run numbers for people. Got somebody said is 59 years old. They currently have 1.25 million saved up. They can add 75,000 to that amount in the next 4 years, and they want to know if they can retire at 63. He gave me some other numbers, so we're going to go ahead and run those. Here's the 1.25 million. There's the 75,000, what he'd be putting in monthly, which is 6,250. Again, we use the returns for the S&P 500 for the last 100 years. We include the depression type returns just to kind of look at kind of worst case scenarios. We have he said he's going to get 3,000 from Social Security. Figures he needs 70,000 on top of what he's getting from Social Security. Well, if he's getting 36,000 from Social Security plus the 70,000 he thinks he needs, that's 106,000 a year he needs. So that's 8,800 a month basically. And over the next 4 years, that's going to grow with an inflation rate. So we're going to say he needs $9,900 in expenses in 4 years. He's going to get 3,000 from Social Security. I think it's probably higher than that, but that's the number he gave me because Social Security gets a COLA every year. So he's going to need 6,904 from his nest egg just 5 years from now, actually 4 years from now. Here are the actual numbers. Again, using the depression or using the returns for the last 100 years. If you had depression type returns, even though he would have put in 1.55 million, he'd only have 659,000 to show for it. This is the worst 5% of the last 100 years. He'd have 1.238 million to show for it. Again, he's putting in 1.55. That's why these are highlighted in yellow, by the way. If you don't even get back what you put in over these time periods, it's highlighted in yellow. Well, let's go out here. Let's just assume, I'm just going to take that he has the 1.55 million, that 1.25 million plus the 75,000 each year. He's going to put in 1.55 million. So I'm going to initially run the numbers at that, just to have some starting number. We're going to do more than this in just a minute, but let's just show this. And he's going to need 9,000. What do we see? 9,900 a month. So 9,900 a month. That's a 5.38% withdrawal rate, quite a bit higher than the 4% rule. I've already updated this, assuming a 3% COLA on this money. Again, he's needing 9,900 a month in total, but he's getting 3,000 from Social Security, so he needs 6,900 from his nest egg. We're increasing that by 3% a year. We're doing a 70-30 asset allocation. There's all kinds of variables here, but this is what he'd have in the S&P 500 after these different years, and this is what he'd be taking out of his cash reserve if the market's going down. This is what he'd have left, and in that case, 7% of the time in the last 100 years, he would run out of money, most of those during the Depression years, but also during the years around the 2000. So people often say, why do you run the Depression years? Well, because they're in the worst case scenario, but even this decade was a down decade. 4 down years in that 10-year period, and that's why we have running out of money in the year 2000 with these numbers. Let me show you how this worked down here at year 2000. Because you start out with 3 down years. That's called sequence of returns risk. If the next 3 years, well, after he retires, if he has this, in the next 3 years, once he retires, he has those down years, you could actually run out of money in 16 years. 7% of the time, using these numbers, you would run out of money. But again, folks, what are we doing? We're not giving him any credit for this 1.55 million he's putting in. What if he actually had 1.7 million? Again, that's why it's kind of a guessing game, because who knows what the next 4 years are going to be. Yeah, we can look at what the S&P 500, but there's such a wide range of what that might result in. So let's go ahead and update this with this $150,000 more, saying that 1.5 million just grows by a total of 10% in the next 4 years, which would be 2.5% a year. If you just put it in CDs, it'd have better than that. Now we're up down to a 4% failure rate. If he had the 1.7 million, let's do one other number. Let's say he actually gets to, let's do 1.8 million. I don't want to jump too far ahead because we're just guessing here. But if you had 1.8 million, needed 9,900 a month, giving yourself a 3% COLA, you're getting 3,000 from Social Security. That's also going up by 3% a year or whatever the COLA is. Now we're down to just 2% of the time where he'd run out of money in using the numbers for the last 100 years. So again, it looks like he's going to be in fine shape with these numbers right here. the 1.25 million and putting in 75,000 a year, total of 1.55 million. As long as he doesn't lose ground and maybe gains just a little bit, he looks like he's going to be in fine shape. One other thing we like to do on this channel, folks, is if the market's going down, the year after it goes down, don't give yourself the 3% COLA. Oftentimes I go the opposite direction, do a negative 2% COLA. I just want you to notice a difference. So in other words, it's going up by 3% in good years, but if you have a bad year, the very next year you take a 2% cut. You have another bad year, you take a 2% cut. It'd be a little bit painful, but watch the numbers. This 2% is going to disappear. Watch what happens. Just cutting out that year after you have a down year, and look what happens. Even in the worst case scenario, 1929, you're not going to run out of money just by doing that little bit of change there, just adapting a little bit. If you start out with what's called sequence of returns risk, if those first years are down years, just don't take the COLA and maybe even take what's called a negative COLA. Take a little bit less the next year, and then look how your money lasts. He looks like he's going to be in fine shape. Again, we're using the 1.8 million because I have no idea what this 1.55 million is going to be in value in 4 years. We don't know which value. Worst case scenario, you'd be down to this. That's if you had the worst forecast. 95% of the time, or 5% of the time, you wouldn't even have this amount or just that amount. But I'm just using what he has and maybe giving him a little bit more. And look at the numbers, folks. He'd be in just fine shape. But that's what we do on this channel. We run numbers for people. Again, it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen in the next 4 years. So I have to kind of look at different variables. But again, that's what we do on this channel. We run numbers for people and just show them different things like what sequence of returns risk can do, what compound growth, asset allocation, all these different things we bring up in different videos. You need to watch more than just one video to get the gist of what this channel can really do for you. And again, we use the actual historical returns for the last 100 years, 100 years worth of data, including the depression years, and we run numbers for people. And that's what we like to do. Please consider subscribing and sharing and liking this video. And thanks so much for watching.